Let's together create a method that adds two numbers. So we want a method that adds two numbers. So here, let's just basically say private. The reason why I'm saying private is that anything that can use this method that we are about to create has to live within this class. So it doesn't have to be public. Private, static, and then here the return type for this will be an integer. So have a look. So access modifier, private, optional static, static, the return type. We want this method to return an integer. Now let's define the name. So the name can be anything that you want. So here I'm going to say add, and then we have optional parameters. So the parameters are these. So here I want this method to take an integer called number1 followed by another integer called number2. Or in fact, let me just say n1 and n2. So I can just save some space. So n2 in there. And then I need the method body. So method body goes like this. And have a look. Now I can do anything that I want. So here I can perform my business logic and then have the return value. So since this method returns an integer, I need to return an integer. So here, all I want to do is I want to create a variable. So I'm going to say int result equals to n1 plus and then n2. So I've got my result. Now I can just say return and then result. There we go. So you can see that this method here has the return because we have an integer here, and this integer is the return type. So it accepts two numbers, performs the addition, and then it returns the value. So here, if I want to return, for example, a string, I cannot do this because this method here returns only integers. But if I was to change this to a string, for example, you can see that now this works. So I want this method to return the integer result. So let's just leave it like that. Now the way we introduce this method is within our main method. This is where we've been running all of our programs. Let's just say int and then result equals to and then add. And at this point, I can pass two numbers, 10 and 10. There we go. Now I can just print to the console result. And if I run this, we should get 20 right here. So hopefully you can see how this is coming along. So the benefit of this method is that now we can just call it as many times as you want and then pass any two given numbers. So here, let me just call this result and then 2 and then pass 100, for example. And let's also print result and then 2. So you can see how this now allows us to reuse this piece of code over and over and over again. So this is one method that basically is private. It returns an integer. This is the method, and it has two parameters in here. Now remember, static. So here, if this is not static, then it will fail. So we cannot even run this. If I try to run this, it will fail to compile. Have a look. Cannot be referenced from a static context. And that's because before, remember, I said that the only thing that can be accessed within a static context is a static instance, is a static method or attribute, or creating an instance of this class called main, and then we can invoke it. So remember, I said before, the other way is to say main equals to new main, and then here we can say main.add. So main.add, and this works. But let's not do this because we haven't learned about objects and whatnot. So let's just remove main.add from here, and let's just keep static for now. So public, or actually private static, and then int. So if you have any questions on this simple method, please let me know. Otherwise, let's carry on learning about methods.